Professor, so your bird, there was nothing I could do. He just caught fire.
Oh, and about time too. He's been looking dreadful for days. Pity you had to see him on a burning day. Folks, he's a phoenix, Harry. They burst into flame when it is time for them to die, and then they are reborn from the ashes. Fascinating creatures, phoenixes. They can carry immensely heavy loads, and their tears of healing powers.
Hello, everyone. Quick video here. I want to talk about something that has been on my mind lately. Been having a lot of things coming up for review to my own personal life and path work. Been pulled back in retrospect, but I want to talk about the stage of the Phoenix rising that we are coming into. This is a very powerful time that we're in. You can see how things are shifting. Every day I see things accelerating, like there's this accelerant taking place with air and fire, water, all the elements, earth, all the elements are really being ignited. And we see it on the world stage, which, look, you can't get distracted by all the bullshit that goes on out there. We are dealing with a very high level of dark sorcery that's going on this planet on a collective level. There are so many occult symbols, so many occult things being thrown out in context. Today's 9/11. Again, going back to the falling of the towers, the two towers, timeline shift that took place during that aspect, when that actually happened. Now we're dealing with 22 years later. What is 22? 22 is the number of the master builder. So something's being built in context to another timeline shift. Now, look, we are coming off of that timeline. That old timeline, that old paradigm is basically, it's being burnt to the ground. It's been, the ashes are being formed now in context to what's being burnt down. Look, the Phoenix is a mythological creature. It, as in the video you just saw, it basically, death and rebirth, cycle, consciousness. So when we're looking at the Phoenix rising, what are we looking at? We're looking at the as above, so below, right? The dragon and the Phoenix are the alchemical opposites of each other, but yet they are the same. So as above, so below. And so when we're looking at the Phoenix rising, what are we looking at? We're looking at something of higher consciousness, something that's rising or birthing out of the ashes, out of the dissolution process, where the ashes then are becoming something new to the process of alchemy in context to what the Athanor has burned to those ashes, the Athanor being the furnace itself. So as you can see, I have pictured behind me a blue Phoenix, which is interesting because the blue represents the hottest part of the flame. And when we're looking at that, we're seeing how the Phoenix actually does rise out of this. It rises out because it's creating a new version of itself. Now, look, I believe that the 2000 cycle, that cycle was the beginning of a stage. And when we're looking at the beginning of stages, we start to see how things actually roll out. In the year 2000, I had a dream about the stage one. And I'm not going to get into the dream because it's pretty elaborate. But in essence, or when you boil it down to the least common denominator, stage one was the burning of the ashes, this process that takes years and years and years to burn through the programming and create the ashes of those programs, so that you can reform those ashes into higher consciousness and self-awareness, self-control, self-validation, self-love, self-purpose, igniting again the Phoenix, the coagulation process within yourself to the purpose of your incarnation and the purpose of why you're here. And that takes time to understand who you are, why you're here, what you're doing, because there's so much amnesia going on, to the whole process that we're going through. And when we start to actually burn the heavy load of that programs, I mean, think about it. I mean, what's loaded in on over the DNA, how the DNA has been manipulated. Our immortal DNA has been shut down. The DNA of our, of our self-preservation as a human race has been shut down in context. And so our regeneration abilities, our immortal aspect, all of this has been shut down or overlaid or frequency fenced in context to our DNA itself. This is what we're burning through. And now we're coming into the end of this stage, and you can see it on the inversions in context to what's being rolled out to in dark sorcery, this whole, since 2020, to the aspect of the needlecraft and moving people into a position where they could be hosted, and in context to that as well, of what we're seeing recently, with the whole Black Rock psyop, that's been going on, and I want to just address this really quick. Look, you guys are looking at occult symbols, you're seeing occult things out there, but those are rabbit trails. Those are all things to distract you, to keep you from actually stepping into your connection with the higher force itself. Most of us, honestly, I got to say this, most of us honestly haven't even ignited our hardcore intelligence yet on the level that it needs to be. And this is where we have to get this ignition of this phoenix rising from here, from your first eye, from your heart core intelligence, where you're drawing from the higher force itself in context to not being closed off to the actual energy of the higher force within you. And that takes time. It takes time to burn through things, but you got to want it. You got to want that connection. You got to want that phoenix rising within you. And so we're seeing a lot of this Black Rock Vanguard type of, shit that's going on. What is Black Rock? What is Vanguard? These are asset holders. These are the masters that are pulling the strings behind the scenes in context. Do you realize that Black Rock and Vanguard hold 88% of the world's assets? Did you know that? 88%. 88. Do you get it? Look at how we are starting to see the burning taking place. I mean, you can just see just two psyops out of the multitude that are there in context to Maui and what happened there on the Big Island, where the burning or the actual burning took place in context to burning things to the ashes so that something can rise out of those ashes on the inversions. And then we're seeing it at the psychic garbage dump of Burning Man. That's all Burning Man is. It's a big, basically just a big party for people to go to, to get rid of their psychic garbage or whatever they do there. This is all another psyop in context to the flooding. So we're looking at what? Fire and water. And where was Burning Man? Where's Burning Man held? On Black Rock City. This is all getting into the cube aspect. Now I want to address the political scene. Look, you guys are getting pulled into this Trump psyop big time. I see it a lot going on where, the Savior programming is running. Don't you realize that is being put out there on purpose? There's a reason why. The dark sorcery is to charge the polarity on the other side, so that when the pendulum swings, what's it going to do? It's going to swing all the way back, and all that harvesting is going to take place in context to Black Cube or the cube technology that we're dealing with here. Okay, when we start to realize with our real eye, and we start to actually see what's going on, we don't need to worry or fear or have all this, World War III or doomsday bullshit going on in context to this, because this is what they're trying to roll out to nerve induction to keep you asses locked down in context to your consciousness. See? I mean, they're putting out the psyops so that you take the bait. They don't care about the masses who aren't awake. They've got them. Look, they're already signed, sealed, and delivered. If you really want to look at it, look, you have to be seeking after this. You have to be wanting that connection with the higher force. You've got to be wanting to step into the order of the Phoenix. And what does that mean? That means your old shit has to die. That means the old fucking stuff has to fucking go away, and you can't keep it. The other reference is, the camel going through the eye of a needle. The camel has to drop to its knees, and the baggage has to drop for that camel to go through the eye. See, you got to drop the bullshit. You got to drop the ego construct that is out of alignment, that is not in alignment with the higher force itself. Drawing the narrative to that connection and allowing that electromagnetic aspect to explode inside of you. You want to talk about a Christian construct, being born again? What does that actually mean? See? I mean, it's all been psyop. We're looking at the whole savior programming, the whole rapture bullshit, all the stuff that they're trying to throw out there. I mean, it's like, what will stick? And I see meme after meme after meme and bullshit after bullshit that just keeps going on, that you guys keep throwing out there, putting consciousness on all of this, thinking that somehow that's going to collapse things. No, what's going to actually change things is your connection to the higher force itself and the fire of the phoenix rising out of your fucking heart. And I hate to be so bold here in context because I'm not normally this intense. You're seeing the dark magic being rolled out. Just because you're seeing it and trying to reveal it in context doesn't mean you have arrived to anything or you have some kind of thing going on. Let's see how many likes we can get. Let's see how many people we can get engaged on our Facebook channel. You know, what kind of bullshit are you guys running? When was the last time you used your fire letter codex? Or do you even have that ignited within you? When was the last time you actually stepped into a place where you are connecting with the higher force itself on a daily level and making that connection, seeking that connection, knocking forth on that connection? We are the phoenixes in context to initiation. That is the old occult meaning. That is the initiation of the solar, your eye, your solar, your eye, your heart, your blazing heart, your lotus flower inside of you. See? And when we start to realize this, we go that the phoenix rising is us. It's not psyops in context to a bunch of dark magicians and Atlantean encryptions that they have some type of, corner on in context to locking it down. See? Because they understand that the alchemical process that we have to go through can be used against you. And as long as you allow the alchemical process and your shadow dragon to run amok, you're going to continue to play the game. You're going to continue to be a participant of the game itself in context to what's locked down in the Tesseract from the 6th dimension. We're in Virgo season right now. Right now, the moon and Venus are conjunct in Leo, the fire element. See, the new moon that we're coming into is going to be in Virgo when we're coming into it in context. We have a Virgo sun. That's what a new moon is. It's conjunct. Sun and moon are conjunct. That's what a new moon means. We are coming into a space right now where we're going to start to see things shift on a major level. You haven't seen nothing yet. With the North Node moving into Aries, you haven't seen anything yet. We're just getting started. All that Plutonian energy that's been charging the nodal aspects now, going all the way through that 8-degree space, is happening right now. And we don't even get it yet because we're still, putting out, all this stuff that we think somehow we're seeing it. So what? You're seeing it. So what? BFD, big fucking deal. What are you actually seeing next to your own purpose and incarnation and how you're rising out of the fucking ashes of a version that's been burnt from a long time ago? When you need to realize that that version no longer can exist in your reality field. See? And that's what has to shift. That's what has to change. You have to rise out of the ashes, out of the smoldering ashes as a phoenix. A rebirthed, powerful manifestation of your true mage aspect. Look, this shit's going to continue to get hotter. Things are going to continue to boil. things are going to go deeper. Things are going to get crazier from here on out. This is nothing. And when the reality field begins to be affected in context to these psychological operations that they're throwing out over and over and over, and they're layering them now, if you don't have this on, you will be pulled into the same shit that everyone else is. That's why you got to take the time. You got to take the time to pull back and find that connection with the higher force, that connection with source energy within you, the open loop system that feeds your soul, that turns on the genetics within you from the ancient timeline of our original human DNA construct. Without that, we're not going anywhere. This shit's going to continue on and on and on. And the AI timeline is going to rake out the masses. We are no saviors to this world, but you are a savior unto yourself. That word saved is Greek word sozo. You know what it means? To be made whole, body, soul, and spirit. That is the bridge between the soul and the spirit connected to the higher force itself. See? And we've had many who've come to show us that it's just been, things have just been psyop to that aspect. But many have come over the aeons to show us how to do this, what the breadcrumbs have been laid to seeing how to move into the place of taking back our original timeline. We got to take it back. It's not going to be given to us, guys. It's not going to be handed to us on a fucking silver platter and say, here you go, guys. Here's your original timeline. Have at it. No, we're in the fight and the war of our cosmic lives right now. So this transmission is happening because this is what I'm feeling inside. It's not on me. I know what's on me is me. I got to take care of what I can do personally to my own personal path work. But we're also the lighthouse keepers, and we have to show the way so that, those who truly have an eye to see and ear to hear have a way in to hear and to see. They can apply the principles. They can apply organic technology and get things to come back online. And that's been our problem. We've allowed our emotional body, our fourth house, the Cancer energy, to run our system. When the emotional body runs amok and breaks into the etheric rocks, and we're all screwed, see, because we don't know how to run the emotional intelligence yet. And this is the task. This is why the fourth gate is the gate of initiation in context to Cancer. Because if you don't have the emotional intelligence running in alignment with thought, what's here and what's ignited here, then you're not going to get it. The emotional aspect is going to continue to cloak. It's going to continue to overlay the genetics in context to your DNA, and that DNA, that genetics isn't going to get fired. It's not going to get fired up because you're not going to have the ability to do it because you're still running in your emotional construct. It trips you up to that seventh gate and that second gate in Venus. That's why Venus is so important, because not only is it, taking it to your own self-worth, but it's also taking it to relationships, and then finding that balance and harmony between your self-worth and relationships. That's why the Venus gate to the dark Luciferian aspect, and we take it to the female Illuminati, to how the emotions are locked down and running the system. See? And this is why they targeted the feminine. So you have to get past that. And you have to understand that your emotions, just because you're feeling something or you're having an emotional charge, doesn't mean you act on that. You've got to place that sixth gate in alignment to logic and reason. And then that 612 axis becomes powerful in context to your Piscean energy, where you see the big picture and you're able to actually shapeshift or be mutable in context to navigation. See, and that gets into the actual magician aspect. So the sixth gate is why this is why it's locked down, because it's the 12 axis. See, so the 612 axis is the Piscean gate when you talk about 12th house. This is why Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces retrograde right now, all this crazy shit's going on. See, now we got Uranus retrograde in Taurus just came in. So we're running all this retrograde energy. It's all running onto the eternal constructs, and all the orbs are now, in massive density in context to what's running through the ethers right now. So things are crazy. If you haven't been doing the internal work, then you're going to be pulled into this stuff over and over and over and over and over. So you see the Phoenix rising. You see how they're playing it on the field to the psychological operation to the masses. They're sending signals to what they're wanting. They're burning things to the ground so that why? They can rise something out of the ashes of that. And we know what that is. We're taking it back to the Atlantean cycle. We're taking it back to the psyops. We're taking it back to what's happened, aeons ago. It's nothing new. It's just on the repeat. And this is the loop that we have to break here and come up out of the cycle of the 8. That's why things are locked down to the 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, because the 8 is the loop in context to the numerology. And then they use the triangulation to the 3, 6, 9 to triangulate things in, removing the 0, which is actually the womb. That's why the womb was hijacked. That's why the feminine is targeted. So anyway, I wanted to throw this out here as an encouragement. I'm encouraging everyone who hears this transmission to get it together now. This is the time to step in to this power-based aspect in your life. It's time for neuroplasticity to begin to take place on an etheric level with our mind. See, we have to understand and understand that we have to change here. We can't continue to do the same shit expecting different results. It's not going to happen. You're not going to get a different result. You're just going to get pulled into the same old karmic cycle, occult, dark occult, psyop bullshit that they're throwing out there. And every time they throw it out, you take the bait and you eat the rotten fruit. See? Because there actually is no fruit on your trees to actual manifestation of life force energy itself. We have the ability to age reverse. We have the ability to tap into these immortal genes. We have the ability to transform and transfigure. We just haven't stepped into it yet. But the second cycle is getting ready to happen in context, going into things here. 2024 could be a most powerful year, stepping into the year of the dragon itself. See? But when the dragon is present, so is the phoenix. As above, so below. As below, so above. Vibrational correspondence is on the playing field all the time. What do you guys think is going on here? They know this. And this is our legacy. One man, one woman at a time. Every person that steps into the true transformative aspect of their path work itself, connecting to the higher force itself, has a huge impact. I'm not talking about a small impact, a small pebble. I'm talking about a big impact on the reality field. When you're truly tapping into the source energy within yourself. When your tree begins to be lit in context to the open loop system of connection with the higher force itself. The stellar activations are going to continue. The central sun is going to continue to level things up in context to the waves that are being sent. But we have to understand and understand that this is our time to rise from the fucking ashes. Now, and the alchemical process of the distillation that has to take place here, in context to the ashes reforming through the process of alchemy, through the biospiritual regenesis to the phoenix rising, that we would be birthed to our actual true selves again. This is the encouragement I want to throw out there. Okay, everyone, much love. The transmission is done. Blue Pearl Oracle out.